I noticed a lingering scent of cigarettes on my wife's underwear, but I don't smoke. Can't you stop being so paranoid? If you've got the guts, just file for divorce. Janie Sanders retorted with unwarranted confidence. I blinked, holding the smoke-infused garment in my hand, momentarily lost in thought. She had no idea that I was a soul who had transmigrated into this body. To me, she meant absolutely nothing. Snapping back to reality, I replied with a smile, "Fine then, let's get divorced." Ding. Story Shots reminds you to click the subscribe button at the bottom right corner to read the full novel. The room suddenly fell silent. Janie Sanders dropped her proud demeanor and stared at me in disbelief. What did you say?" Looking at this unfamiliar yet strangely confident woman before me, I couldn't help but find it amusing. "I said divorce." I carelessly tossed her bra onto the floor. "Isn't that what you wanted? Well, I don't fancy it either, so let's get on with it." Janie slightly furrowed her brow, glaring at me coldly. "Alan, what game are you playing now? I've already told you, it's all in your head. I have to interact with people when I'm out for work. It's normal if I smell a bit like smoke. Can't you be less sensitive about it?" Oh sure, interacting with people to the point where even her bra smells of smoke, right? What? Did someone smoke while nestled in her cleavage? He can't even be bothered to make up a decent lie. Truly thinks I'm an idiot. I sat down nonchalantly in the chair. "It's just a divorce. Why do you have to make such a fuss about it? Isn't it tiresome?" Janie was taken aback, seemingly unable to believe my attitude towards her. I crossed my legs and continued, "Oh, by the way, there's one more thing." Janie interrupted me, looking impatient. "Alan, how long are you going to keep this up?" She paused, sighed, then went on. "Yes, last night you hadn't come home from your business trip yet. I was in a bad mood and had a few too many drinks. Then Brock called. We were both drunk, it wasn't intentional. I admit I'm partly to blame, but aren't you at fault too? Every time there's a small issue, you argue endlessly without listening to explanations. What's the point of being so aggressive?" I calmly looked at her, listening to her outburst as if nothing had happened. I even took out my phone and started scrolling through short videos. Originally, I wanted to discuss the property distribution with her, but before I could even bring it up, she flew off the handle. "Huh, pathetic." Seeing me ignore her, Janie asked suspiciously, "Did you even hear what I just said?" I glanced up at her. "It's all rubbish. Why should I bother listening?" "Alan, I'm not in the mood for your jokes. Can you stop being so unreasonable?" Janie had reached her breaking point. "Keep it down, will you? It's bloody noisy." Someone from downstairs came to knock on the door and warn us. Janie Sanders' face turned ashen as she fell silent. I just stared at her. "What are you looking at?" "Realized I'm not too bad looking and regretting your affair," I said with a sarcastic chuckle, spreading my hands. "You, how can you joke at a time like this?" Janie exclaimed. After a moment of silence, she conceded, "Fine, we both need some space. I'll stay somewhere else tonight. We can discuss everything else tomorrow when we've both calmed down." The register office was already closed for the day, and continuing to argue would only make things worse. I didn't insist she stay, letting her leave. After Janie left, I lay on the sofa listlessly, my gaze drawn to a wedding photo on the coffee table. Since my soul had transmigrated, I had also received the original owner's memories. These memories surfaced one by one. "Janie Sanders, I know you and Brock Corbett grew up together, but you're married now. You're my wife. Don't you understand the basic concept of keeping your distance from other men? Why are you shouting? Brock is like family to me. What's wrong with being close to him? It's your own dirty mind that's the problem. Let me tell you something. If there really was something between us, do you think you'd even be in the picture?" This was an argument that erupted a month ago when Janie went to visit Brock when he was ill and didn't return home all night. Alan Gallagher made his most heartfelt accusation against Janie. He questioned her, blamed her, unable to accept Janie's casual attitude towards their marriage, yet unable to stop loving her. He was in pain, agitated, helpless. how he wanted to ask her if she really liked Brock so much, why did she agree to marry him in the first place? Alan gripped Janie's shoulders, his eyes full of anger and bitterness. But Janie remained oblivious, brushing it off with a, "If your heart's dirty, everything looks dirty to you." Even when she knew Alan loved her to the bone, wanting to leave but unable to, trapped in an agonizing dilemma, she used divorce as a threat to silence him. She said, "Alan, you don't understand me at all. You don't empathize with me, you don't accept me, and you're always overthinking. What's the point of living like this? I'll say it again, if you've got the guts, just divorce me. I'm tired of putting up with your temper." My chest felt tight. Even breathing became difficult. This must be the body's reaction from the original owner. I had no way of knowing why the original owner had fallen so deeply in love, nor did I know the process of how he and Janie Sanders had gone from acquaintance to marriage. All I knew was that since my soul had transmigrated, the Janie Sanders I faced was a person with no sense of boundaries, a compulsive liar, a master of emotional manipulation, and prone to angry outbursts. Oh, and she was also a cheater, both emotionally and physically. Until now, I think I understand why I mysteriously transmigrated into this body. Since the original owner couldn't let go, I suppose it's up to me to take action. The night passed quickly. The next morning, Janie Sanders brought breakfast back. She handed me a bacon sandwich and a cup of tea. "Have you calmed down?" I glanced at it and brushed it aside. She frowned in displeasure. "Alan, there's a limit to this nonsense." Janie's face darkened, a hint of sharpness in her eyes. "Cut the crap," I said, taking out a sandwich from the cupboard and taking a bite. "You've cheated on me. This isn't something that can be resolved just by calming down. Tell me, when do you have time? We'll go to the register office and get the marriage certificate." Janie's frown deepened. "Are you still upset about that silly bra? Alan, when will you let this go? A silly bra? Sometimes, when you're speechless, you really want to laugh." "Janie Sanders, are you even listening to yourself? I think your brain must be completely underdeveloped to say something like that." I looked at her with disdain, and she happened to look back at me. As our eyes met, I saw the anger flaring in hers. "Alan, don't force me to turn against you. You'll regret it before you know it," Janie said in a threatening tone. I was about to curse back when her phone rang. Janie glanced at the caller ID and frowned slightly. She turned away and answered the call. "Brock, what is it?" Well, no wonder her expression was so strange. It was the other man. "Janie, why are you so cold to me today? Are you still upset about that incident?" Brock's voice came through on the other end of the phone. Janie Sanders glanced at me and replied, "No, I know we were both drunk that night. I don't blame you. But what about Alan? How do you plan to explain it to him? I don't want to cause trouble between you two because of me. I'd feel terrible if I did. Bloody hell, what a man-whore. There are two types of creatures I despise most in this world: cheaters and homewreckers. And now I've encountered both." Before Janie could answer, I snatched the phone away. "Quite the actor, aren't you, mate? Can't be content with being a decent bloke, you just had to be the other man, didn't you? And not just any other man, but a right slag at that. Your ancestors must be rolling in their graves. We're both men here, so let me give you some friendly advice. Do something respectable with your life, and stop picking up my leftovers. It's embarrassing." With that, I swiftly hung up the phone. Janie stared at me, dumbfounded by my outburst, taking a moment to process what had just happened. "Alan, have you gone mad?" she exclaimed. She raised her hand to slap me, but I caught it midair and returned the favor. A resounding smack echoed as my palm connected with her cheek. Janie was stunned into silence. "I was so busy telling him off. I almost forgot about you." I glared at her. "To put it bluntly, you're nothing but a cheap tart. Why bother putting on airs in front of me? I let it slide when you made a fuss before, but now you're really taking the piss, aren't you? Cheating on your husband, shagging someone else, then having the nerve to deny it until you're caught red-handed. And now you're playing the 'it wasn't on purpose' card, trying to pin all the blame on me. You've got some nerve." Janie Sanders, were you raised in a barn? How could you do something so revolting? In the old days, they'd have you in the stocks for this. Women like you who can't keep their legs closed are a waste of oxygen. And when you die, you'll be a waste of good earth. Bloody hell, what rotten luck! A deathly silence fell over the room. Janie Sanders stood there, her mouth slightly agape, staring at me in shock. After what felt like an eternity, she came to her senses, her eyes blazing with fury. How dare you slap me? Janie cupped her stinging cheek, raising her voice as she addressed me. I know, Brock, and I made a mistake when we were drunk, but I've already admitted to it. What more do you want? I understand if you're jealous or angry, but that's no excuse for this irrational behavior and domestic violence. Alan, you've gone too far this time. Janie's face flushed red with anger. She was furious, but at the same time, she couldn't help feeling a bit flustered and unsure. Her usually patient and compliant husband had suddenly changed his demeanor. An unprecedented sense of crisis washed over her. However, this feeling made her uncomfortable. She forced herself to suppress her emotions and continued to try and intimidate me in her usual manner. Alan, if you keep this up, our marriage is over. She thought these words would frighten me into submission. But I was no longer the Alan she once knew. Divorce? That's exactly what I wanted. Didn't I just say that? Let's get divorced then. I shrugged, speaking nonchalantly. You're completely unreasonable. Janie's face darkened, her eyes filled with unbridled rage. Fine, let's get divorced. I dare you not to regret it. She spat out before storming off in a huff. Janie, what happened to our divorce plans? Shouldn't we be heading to the court? How can you just run off without a word? And she's so quick, I can't even catch her. I sat on the table, glumly sipping a cup of tea, thinking I might as well rest for now and call her later to meet at the court in the afternoon. The morning passed quickly. Just as I was having lunch, there was a knock at the door. I opened it to find Janie Sanders' assistant. Memories suddenly flooded back. Come to think of it, I had helped Janie choose this assistant. When Janie and Alan Gallagher first got married, she was just an ordinary employee at a company, but Alan had already started his own small business. The monotonous daily work made Janie feel restless and uneasy. To make matters worse, her company was downsizing, which crushed her spirits. Meanwhile, Alan's company was thriving. The stark contrast made Janie increasingly insecure. Alan noticed Janie's anxiety and offered to let her help manage the company with him. But I don't know anything about management. How can I help you? She asked. Don't worry, we'll take it slow. No need to rush, he reassured her. And so, Alan taught Janie step by step, starting from the basics. At first, Janie lacked confidence, but over time, she became proficient and her spirits lifted. Alan then handed over his responsibilities to Janie, while he stepped back into a supporting role. It was during this time that Alan helped Janie hire her current assistant. In just 2.5 years, Janie had transformed from a laid-off employee to a company executive. With this, she completed her metamorphosis from a little woman to a leading lady. I glanced at the young assistant in front of me and smiled politely. Hello there. Can I help you with something? The assistant looked slightly confused but quickly composed herself. Mr. Gallagher, Miss Sanders asked me to escort you to the court. It's about the divorce proceedings. I nodded and followed her. However, as we were going downstairs to the car, the assistant tactlessly said to me, Mr. Gallagher, if I may say something, please don't take offense. Miss Sanders and Mr. Corbett aren't just childhood friends. They've been business partners for years. Your possessiveness has seriously affected Ms. Sanders' professional collaborations. This isn't the old days anymore. Women are independent now with the right and freedom to work and socialize. They won't be constrained or oppressed by men. Ms. Sanders hasn't done anything wrong. You should be more understanding and reflect on your own behavior. I looked at the assistant in astonishment. She bowed slightly, opening the car door for me, and asked with a smile, Mr. Gallagher, don't you agree? I couldn't help but laugh. I had thought the unfair treatment was limited to Alan and Janie's relationship, But it seemed even a lowly employee felt entitled to lecture Alan. If you know you're speaking out of turn, why say it at all? Trying to show off? I said with a cold smile. Pardon? What did you say? The assistant's smile froze, and she looked at me in confusion. She had heard what I said perfectly well. She was just unsettled by my sudden change in demeanor. As the company's founder, the original Alan was naturally far more capable than Janie Sanders, who was merely a well-connected newcomer. Yet even Janie's insignificant assistant felt she could look down on Alan. It was clear how little Alan was valued in Janie's eyes. However, while Alan might have been willing to tolerate this for Janie's sake, I was not him. I placed my hand on the assistant's shoulder, forcing her to maintain her bowed posture, and asked with a smile, "What's this? Has Janie Sanders' lapdog started giving me orders now?" The assistant's face changed instantly. "Mr. Gallagher, I misspoke. Please, you're a big man. Don't hold it against me." She lowered her head, looking flustered. "Don't call me Mr. Gallagher," I said, adjusting my cuffs as I sat in the car. "Janie Sanders' company is mine. If we're being technical, I should be the one you're serving. From now on, I don't want to hear Mr. Gallagher from your mouth again. Call me Mr. Gallagher." "Yes, Mr. Gallagher." The assistant swallowed hard, avoiding my gaze. As I was about to close the door, I said, "After you drop me off at the register office, go to the company reception to collect your final wages." "Mr. Mr. Gallagher, are you firing me?" The assistant couldn't believe her ears. She stared at me wide-eyed, clutching the car door desperately. "You can't do this. I'm Ms. Sanders' personal assistant." "Personal assistant? Well, personal assistant. So what?" I smiled at her. "Have you fulfilled your duties as an assistant? Have you met your obligations? If all you can do is yap at Janie Sanders' heels like a dog, why shouldn't I just get a chihuahua instead? And since you seem to be as deaf as Janie Sanders, I'll repeat myself. The company shares are mine. Janie Sanders is just a figurehead. Never mind a lowly assistant like you. I can fire anyone I want, including Janie Sanders herself. Any objections?" The assistant was completely panicked now. "Usually when Mr. Corbett comes to the company, I'm the one who receives him. Ms. Sanders can't do without me. If you fire me, it'll be difficult to hand over Mr. Corbett's collaboration, and hard to explain to Ms. Sanders." Ha, an insignificant assistant trying to play the threat card now. I grabbed her chin, forcing her to look at me. "Didn't you understand? There won't be a Ms. Sanders anymore, and my company won't be dealing with Brock Corbett either. You and Janie Sanders can both get lost." I closed the car door and reminded Wilfred, who was sitting in the driver's seat, to start driving. "Mr. Gallagher, what is it? Do you want to be fired too?" I stared at Wilfred's conflicted expression in the rearview mirror, emphasizing my words. "Please fasten your seatbelt, sir. I'm starting the car now." Outside the court, Janie Sanders was already waiting impatiently. I had just gotten out of the car when she walked over, clearly dissatisfied. "Why are you only arriving now? Where's Gilbert?" Gilbert was her assistant. "I fired him," I replied. "What?" she exclaimed. "He's been with me for so long. What right do you have to fire him? What gives you the authority to do that?" Janie's accusatory voice hit me like a thunderbolt. I gave her a cool look. "I didn't like him, so I fired him. Is that a problem?" You what? "I don't like you either, so I'm firing you too. Is that a problem?" "Alan Gallagher, why are you shouting? The company is mine, the shares are mine, your current position was given by me, and your current lavish lifestyle was built by me. Since we're getting divorced anyway, I'm taking it all back. Is that a problem?" The third time I asked her, "Is that a problem?" I emphasized it, and Janie finally realized something was off. "Are you serious about this?" she asked, her brow furrowing in disbelief. I smiled. "Do I look like I'm joking?" Her expression froze, and she stood there stunned. People were coming and going around us, with many there to register their marriages. Janie and I seemed out of place in comparison. Her mind was in chaos. She rubbed her head, still confused. You were so generous and accommodating before. Why have you suddenly become so petty? I don't understand. Just because of some small issue, you suddenly want a divorce. Then you fire my assistant. And now you want to fire me. Alan, you've suddenly become like a different person. Where did the old you go? You now? There are so many things waiting for me to do at the company. I'm really tired. Can we stop this nonsense? Well, the old Alan Gallagher had pampered Janie Sanders in every way, but she neither appreciated nor cherished it. Now that the original Alan was gone, she was complaining that I wasn't as gentle as before. If she had known it would come to this, why did she act that way before? In the end, it all came down to her being ungrateful. But I couldn't even be bothered to scold her anymore. After all, talking to her was like casting pearls before swine. Every word I said felt like a waste of breath. Blah, blah, blah. Never ends. I'm tired of listening, I said, picking at my ear. I'll ask you one thing. Are we getting divorced or not? If yes, let's get on with it. If not, wait for my lawyer to contact you about the lawsuit. Take your pick. Janie Sanders' face fell, unable to maintain her composure. Is it really necessary to make such a scene? Her voice lowered, her face filled with anger, her eyes cold and fierce. I'm making a scene? She should look at who's really responsible for this mess. Weren't you the one who cheated first? Weren't you the one who first mentioned divorce? Weren't you the one who sent your assistant to bring me to the court for registration? Did I make a fuss? I fired back at her. Janie was left speechless by my questions. I just, she stammered. Enough talk. Let's get this over with. I need to get back to the office. Don't waste my time, I said firmly, dragging her to the registration window. The clerk at the window glanced at us and asked, "Voluntary divorce?" "Yes," I answered without hesitation. In contrast, Janie became hesitant and tongue-tied. The clerk scrutinized Janie, looking her up and down. Young couples shouldn't rush into divorce over small matters. The divorce rate is so high these days, but deep down, most still care for each other. Why bother? I nodded with a smile. You're right. Who doesn't want to live a stable, happy life? But my situation is rather unique. I continued as I took out the necessary documents and handed them to the clerk. My wife had an affair. I had no choice. Suddenly, all eyes in the hall were on Janie. Janie hadn't expected me to openly disclose such private matters. Caught off guard, her face turned bright red. "Alan, what nonsense are you spouting?" she hissed, turning her head away. The clerk stopped trying to persuade us and, clicking his tongue repeatedly, proceeded to process our divorce paperwork. As we walked out of the court, I strode away without looking back. Janie couldn't help but call out to me, "Don't you have anything you want to say to me?" "What is there to say?" I replied. She fell silent for a moment, her tense face relaxing slightly. "We don't have to end things like this." I couldn't help but laugh. "We've already completed the divorce proceedings, and you're still deluding yourself? Alan, after all these years together, are you really going to cut all ties with me over one mistake? Can you really let go so easily? You're so fixated on that lingerie incident. It's because you still care about whether I truly love you, right? You still have feelings for me. I admit I didn't handle the situation well. I was wrong and I apologize. We still have a 30-day cooling-off period. Let's both think it over carefully." Janie Sanders turned and left without another word. I wanted to argue, but after a moment's thought, I decided it wasn't worth it and let her go. After leaving the court, I headed to the company. At first, the employees weren't used to the changes, but I didn't coddle them. Those who could adapt stayed, while those who couldn't work without Janie were shown the door. After some restructuring, the company finally started to look like a proper business. As I was going through recent documents, I noticed some discrepancies in the accounts. Upon closer inspection, I realized they were all related to projects with Brock Corbett. Well, Janie was certainly generous, sending out so much money without batting an eye, using my money to support another man, and then having the nerve to manipulate me emotionally? No, wait, was she all right? I called my assistant and asked them to arrange a meeting with Brock Corbett, under the pretense of discussing our collaborative projects. Brock arrived as scheduled. When he saw me, he hesitated for a moment before forcing a smile. "Mr. Gallagher, I wasn't expecting you. Where's Janie? What's the matter?" Disappointed to see me, I smiled at him from my chair. "Why so formal, Mr. Corbett? Have a seat." Brock looked embarrassed as he accepted a cup of tea from my assistant. I wouldn't dare say disappointed. That wasn't my intention at all. It's just that Janie has been managing the company, and she's more familiar with these matters. We also— He paused, then continued, "Mr. Gallagher, please don't misunderstand. What happened between Janie and me was truly an accident. We never meant for it to happen. I know you're angry, and you can take it out on me if you like, but please don't let Janie get hurt." Well said. I mockingly applauded him. But you see, no matter how familiar Janie is with the business, the company isn't hers. I can send her packing with a snap of my fingers, and the same goes for our relationship. Brock's face fell at my words. "But we're getting off topic. I didn't call you here to discuss Janie. I just wanted to go over some accounts with you." I tossed a stack of documents onto the desk. "Care to explain these, Mr. Corbett?" Brock Corbett's face turned ashen as he looked at me. "This," he stammered for a while before explaining. "These projects were previously handled by Janie and me. You've just taken over, so there might be some aspects you don't quite understand yet, leading to mistakes." "Do you take me for a fool?" I asked. "We're old acquaintances, and I'm not one to disregard social niceties," I said with a smile, tapping my fountain pen on the desk. "As long as Mr. Corbett doubles the compensation, I'll let bygones be bygones." "Double?" Brock exclaimed, unable to remain seated. "Alan, isn't that asking for too much?" Before calling Brock in, I had already had someone discreetly investigate. His company's projects were in deficit. Forget doubling the repayment. He absolutely couldn't afford even the original amount. I feigned a helpless expression and shrugged. "Then I'm afraid we'll have to meet in court." "Alan, you dash." Brock stood up angrily, slamming his hands on the table. Without looking up, I continued arranging my documents and called out, "Gilbert, please show our guest out." My assistant ushered Brock out, half escorting, half pushing. After Brock was sent away, I prepared the necessary documents and went to file the lawsuit. On my way back, a woman walked straight into my arms. She looked up at me and quickly apologized. "Oh, I'm so sorry. Are you all right?" I steadied her. "I'm fine. How about you?" "I'm okay too," the woman said with a smile, shaking her head. "Oh, by the way, do you know how to get to Sunlight Estate? My phone's just run out of battery, so I can't use the GPS. Sunlight Estate? That's where I live. I'm heading back there now. If you don't mind, we could go together." "Thank you so much," the woman said gratefully. In the car, she chatted with me about various everyday topics. We discussed everything from family situations to personal aspirations. Finally, she explained why she had run out of a hotel late at night and happened to bump into me. I was going to catch my husband cheating. Catching him cheating? This girl was certainly straightforward. "Don't look so surprised," she said nonchalantly. "My boyfriend, or should I say ex-boyfriend now, was nothing but a freeloader. He ate my food, wore my clothes, and even used my money to chase other women. Can you believe it? And the silly old me, I just let him get away with it. But things are different now. That dog of a man's good days are over, now that he's met the new me." The woman confidently patted her chest after finishing her speech. Her words didn't quite add up logically. Most people might not have understood, but for someone like me who had similar experiences of soul-swapping to teach a lesson to espouse, it was all too familiar. I didn't call her out on it, though. I just smiled at her through the rearview mirror and said, "After going through such unpleasant experiences, things can only get better. I'm sure your life will be smooth sailing from now on." "You bet it will," the woman chuckled happily. After dropping her off at the estate, I headed home, only to watch her enter the same building, get into the same lift, and press the button for the same floor as me. Even she was surprised. Well, what do you know? Turns out you're my new neighbor. She pointed at her door. I've just moved in. Please take care of me from now on. Oh, I bought some pastries. Would you like to come in for a bit? It's the least I can do to thank you for giving me directions and a lift. Not today, thanks. I politely declined with a nod. I'm a bit tired and would like to rest. All right then. Good night, she said, turning to enter her flat. I thought for a moment and called out to her. Wait a second. Yes? What is it? She asked, poking her head out curiously. Since we're neighbors now, we might as well introduce ourselves properly, I said, extending my hand. I'm Alan Gallagher. And you are. It was then that the woman realized she had talked so much in the car but never mentioned her name. She blinked mechanically, her face turning red with embarrassment. Her expression was quite adorable, and I couldn't help but smile. It's all right. It's never too late to get acquainted. You're right, she grinned, firmly shaking my hand. I'm Miranda Levinson. Miranda as in admirable, and Levinson as in son of Levin. After introducing myself to Miranda Levinson, I returned home. The next day, I went to the office as usual. Mr. Gallagher, there's a Miss Levinson outside who says she wants to discuss a collaboration project with you. My assistant said with a slight bow. Levinson? Did she mention her first name? I asked. Miranda. What a coincidence. I straightened my collar and went out to greet her. Miranda's face lit up when she saw me. Are you Mr. Gallagher? I nodded. I hear you wanted to discuss a collaboration? Miranda waved her hand dismissively. Oh, please don't call me Miss Levinson. It sounds so formal. Just call me Miranda. As she spoke, she handed me the development project materials she was holding. I briefly flipped through them. The details were quite comprehensive, and it seemed worth considering. However, since projects are built on investments, collaborations must be approached cautiously. Although Miranda's company was well known and even larger than mine, she seemed rather carefree, not quite the type to handle major responsibilities. Yet Miranda seemed to sense my hesitation. True to her name, she could be quite perceptive at crucial moments. The company belongs to my grandfather, and he's personally involved in this project. I didn't manage anything before as I was quite, well, romance-obsessed. I told you about that yesterday, so you probably know. But I've had a wake-up call now and want to focus on my career. Don't worry, even though this project requires a large investment, I can guarantee it will only bring profits, not losses. If anything goes wrong during the project, my side will take full responsibility. Grandfather wants me to take over the company soon, and he's willing to back this project, so, you're that certain it will only bring profits? I asked. I swear it, she replied firmly. If anything goes wrong, we bear no responsibility, I stated. Of course, she agreed. All right then, I nodded. Let's work together. As soon as I got home after a long day at work, Janie Sanders called me. What's going on between you and Brock Corbett? Her voice was filled with displeasure. What do you mean, what's going on? I calmly took off my coat and went to the kitchen to pour myself a glass of water. Don't you already know? Janie was silent for a moment before speaking again, this time in a pleading tone. We've known each other for so long. Is it really necessary to be so ruthless? Couldn't you at least consider my feelings and dash? Your feelings? I scoffed. What feelings are you talking about? Janie, are you overestimating yourself or underestimating me? We're divorced. Why should I care about your feelings? Don't be so full of yourself, will you? Alan, Janie exclaimed, clearly upset, but she quickly composed herself. She sighed and said, I promise you, if you drop the lawsuit, we can go back to how things were before. I won't have any contact with Brock, and I'll love you wholeheartedly. Please stop being so stubborn, okay? You're blinded by jealousy right now. I know you're targeting Brock because of me, but I don't want you to do this. It hurts me. Besides, I handled those accounts. If you sue Brock, where does that leave me? Alan, I'm begging you. Please stop this madness. Otherwise, We really won't have a future together. Are you bloody mental? We're divorced. What future are you on about? There was a sudden intake of breath on the other end of the line, as if she'd heard something unbelievable. Let me make this clear one more time. First, you cheated on me during our marriage with Brock. You're both rubbish. Second, I divorced you not because I was being impulsive or throwing a tantrum, but because I saw your true colors and found you utterly disgusting. Third, I think you've misunderstood. I never said I was only going to sue Brock. Janie seemed to latch onto a glimmer of hope from my words. Really? Then what are you dash? I mean, I'm going to sue both of you. Janie fell silent again. Don't think you can weasel your way out of this. Maybe the old Alan was a pushover, but I'm not so easy to deal with anymore. Janie, this is the consequence of betraying Alan. You brought this upon yourself. Don't blame others. I hung up the phone before Janie could respond, then promptly deleted her number and blocked her. I took a hot shower. Just as I stepped out of the bathroom, I heard someone knocking on my door. When I opened it, to my surprise, it was Miranda Levinson. She scratched her head and grinned. I've cooked too much. Would you like to come over and join me? I was caught off guard for a moment. Seeing my confusion, Miranda quickly explained, I'm not trying to get too familiar. Work is work, and personal life is personal. Perhaps feeling her explanation wasn't clear enough, she added, just think of it as making friends. It's only dinner. I'm not going to eat you or anything. I couldn't help but laugh. Miranda realized what she'd said sounded odd, quickly turned away, covered her face in embarrassment for a few seconds, then faced me again. No, I really didn't mean it like that. I know. I nodded with a smile, hands in my pockets, and gestured towards her flat with a tilt of my head. It would be rude to refuse such a kind offer. I followed Miranda next door. The meal wasn't extravagant. 1 meat dish, 1 vegetable dish, and a soup, just as she'd said. She'd simply cooked too much. But she was very hospitable, asking if I wanted anything else, offering to cook another dish. I said this was already perfect, and only then did she feel comfortable serving me rice. We sat facing each other at the dining table. She suddenly spoke up. Let's chat a bit, otherwise it might be awkward. What about? Let me think. Miranda took a couple of bites of her food, then asked about my hobbies and interests. I answered, and then we talked about her interests. When we discovered we had a lot in common, Miranda looked at me excitedly. I can't believe there's someone so compatible in this world. I knew what she was hinting at and smiled as I took another bite. What? You've just arrived and haven't adjusted yet? Miranda heard this and choked on her hot soup, coughing repeatedly. She pointed at me in surprise. You? How do you know Are you a soul traveler too? I nodded in honest agreement. Miranda became even more excited, grabbing my arm and exclaiming that we were from the same place. She chatted with me about many things, from before her soul transfer to after. We talked all through the night. It seemed that just because of the soul transfer connection, we quickly became familiar with each other and even turned into meal buddies. She often invited me to her house for dinner, and I would bring some cold dishes and fruit when I visited. As for Janie Sanders, after I blocked her phone call last time, she was upset and came to the company to find me in person. I ignored her and had my assistant turn her away at the door. Janie's face turned ashen as she warned my assistant. What do you mean? I've worked here for so long. I have a stake in this company, and I'm Alan's wife. What right do you have to stop me? The assistant bowed respectfully to her and said, Miss Sanders, you were only acting in a temporary role, and Mr. Gallagher has now dismissed you. You have no connection to this company anymore. So, without Mr. Gallagher's permission, I can't let you in. Also, Mr. Gallagher has divorced you, so you're just his ex-wife. Janie had no choice but to wait for me to finish work. But after work, I just got in my car and drove off, not giving her any chance to talk. Janie couldn't take it anymore. The next day, she waited until I finished work and stood in front of my car, blocking my way. Do you really need to keep avoiding me like this? Janie sighed, looking conciliatory. Alan, let's have a proper talk. I have nothing to talk about with you. Do you have to be like this? She frowned slightly, looking very helpless. I thought you were a mature person. I didn't expect you to hold a grudge for so long over such a small matter. I've already apologized to you. What more do you want? Are you bloody mental? She shouldn't have blocked my car to say these things. Now that she had, I was getting angry. What do you mean, what more do I want? Hasn't it been you who's been chasing after me all this time? Let me ask you, haven't you been the one constantly calling and harassing me? Weren't you the one who came to the company to stake out my car? Did I ask you to do any of this? Do you ever think before you speak? Your head is so big. Surely it can't just be a useless water tank. Janie Sanders turned bright red. She hadn't expected me to swear at her so rudely, and for a moment, she was stunned into silence. After a long while, she gradually came to her senses, her face turning from pale to flushed. Alan, don't go too far. Too far? Are you out of your bloody mind? I irritably rubbed my temples, feeling the veins throbbing. Wasn't I clear enough? Even a dimwit should understand by now. Fine. I'll treat you like a dimwit and repeat myself one more time. I pointed at her and said, I, Alan Gallagher, do not accept cheating women. I don't want damaged goods, and I hate secondhand stuff. Got it? To put it more plainly, you're nothing but rubbish to me now. You're like trash I've thrown away. Not even worth dirtying my shoes to step on twice. I wish I could get as far away from you as possible and never see you again. This time, Janie was completely dumbfounded. She stood there motionless, pale as a ghost, like a lifeless puppet. She couldn't accept this outcome. She thought that even after the divorce, I still had feelings for her. She thought that if she just reasoned with me a bit, I would surely listen to her. She thought that even if all else failed, at worst she could swallow her pride and beg for reconciliation, and I would agree without hesitation. She thought it was all just her assumptions, but now all of these assumptions had shattered. Can you sod off now? I barked at her. She retreated to the side, looking lost. I stepped on the gas and drove away, leaving her with nothing but a trail of exhaust fumes. Perhaps because my words were particularly harsh this time, they seemed to have some effect. Janie indeed didn't come looking for me again. I enjoyed a few days of peace and quiet. One evening, I had just finished freshening up at home, preparing to go out for dinner with Miranda Levinson. She had invited me earlier and I had readily agreed. However, I didn't expect to be ambushed by Janie right outside my door as soon as I stepped out. She hiccuped drunkenly, her gaze unfocused as she looked at me. Alan, where are you going? Have a drink with me. She waved an empty bottle in front of my face. I took a step back, keeping my distance from her. Why did you drink so much? I asked her. You didn't come to see me. I missed you, Janie said as she lunged towards me. I dodged to the side, and she stumbled, falling to the ground with a thud. Janie didn't cry out in pain. She just sat there on the ground, looking up at me with eyes full of hurt. If I didn't come to find you, would you never contact me again? That's right. Why? Janie bit her lip, on the verge of tears. You used to love me so much. Indeed, the Alan from before loved her deeply. But as I said, that was Alan, not me. You've been unfaithful, I said quietly, looking down at her. Janie Sanders seemed confused for a moment, then let out a bitter laugh. I can't accept this, she said. Alan, I really can't accept this. You must have known about my relationship with Brock for a while now. I thought your silence meant you were okay with it. But why suddenly? Your logic is flawed, I said coldly, still looking down at her. What do you mean by assuming silence equals consent? I've been tolerant time and time again, but that's not an excuse for you to push boundaries. When you stopped my car earlier, you rambled on about nonsense without explicitly saying you wouldn't hit me. Does that mean I can assume you want to die? That I can run you over without legal consequences? We're adults here. We all know what's going on. When you've made a mistake, own up to it. There's no need for excuses. It just makes you look foolish. Janie stared at me, dumbfounded. After a long while, she tugged at my sleeve pitifully. I know I was wrong. Please give me one more chance. I promise I'll never. There won't be a next time, I said, pulling my arm away. Some mistakes can't be forgiven with a simple apology, just like you can't bring someone back from the dead. I hear your apology, but what about Alan? A look of confusion crossed Janie's face. Of course, she didn't understand the hidden meaning in my words, and I had no intention of explaining. You should go now. There's nothing left between us. I won't see you again. The next time we meet might be in court. Is there really no chance at all? A tear rolled down Janie's cheek. She was finally tasting the bitterness of regret. But it was too late. Before I inhabited this body, she had countless opportunities to turn back. But she insisted on going down this dark path, narrowing her options until she had none left. Who could she blame but herself? I hope this is the last time we speak, Janie. Stop pestering me from now on. Today, I'm in a good mood, so I can calmly discuss these things with you. But if I'm not in a good mood some other day, it won't be as simple as just talking. Of course, if you have a habit of chatting with the police, then by all means continue. With those words, I turned and left, not sparing her even a glance. I was 20 minutes late for our date. From a distance, I could see Miranda sitting by the window in the restaurant, resting her chin on her hand as she waited patiently for me. She caught sight of me and waved happily. I smiled as I approached her. Instead of asking why I was late, she said, I thought you weren't coming. How could I not? We had plans, I replied. Miranda beamed, nodding with a soft Then she added, shall we order? We sat facing each other, our shadows cast on the floor-to-ceiling windows by the candlelight. She mentioned her ketchup was a bit too tangy, and I said my rice was overcooked. She just chuckled and suggested we eat at home next time. As usual, we chatted while we ate, discussing food and life. Finally, she said, it wouldn't be bad if we could do this forever. The violin music in the restaurant muffled her words, and I didn't catch them clearly. But I didn't ask her to repeat herself. I just smiled and passed her the steak I'd cut up on my plate, because I was thinking the same thing. If we could spend our lives like this, it might not be so bad. Then again, a lifetime is a long way off. Who knows what changes might come? I can only make the most of the present, striving to become the happiest version of myself.